Hello my dears, today's video is about which flowers can be sown directly into the ground in May, so that very soon your garden will turn into a veritable carpet of blooms. Today, I only use time-tested, reliable, and fast-growing flowers that I have been sowing myself for decades and that have never let me down. Over my years in the garden, I have learned one trick. There are 10 golden plants that don't need our bows and dances with tambourines. They just want to go into the ground, closer to the May sun. Today I'll share with you my secrets on how to make sure that in a month or two your property will be the envy of your neighbors, while you can relax peacefully on your veranda. Before I begin, I'll say something important. Many people are afraid to sow directly into the ground, thinking, it won't sprout, it will freeze, the birds will peck it. Well, I'll dispel this myth once and for all. I personally tested all 10 plants that will be discussed today in my own outdoor garden beds. Some of them survived the May frosts and still emerged victorious. Ready? Then let's go. First, marigolds. I'll start, of course, with my favorite sons, marigolds. My garden is not a garden without them. I appreciate them not only for their beauty, but also because they are real orderlies. I noticed it a long time ago. Where marigolds grow, there are fewer pests and the soil is cleaner. In May, I simply make shallow furrows, water them with warm water and spread the seeds. You know, I don't even soak them. They shoot out like a brush anyway. The main thing is to choose the rejected varieties. They are shorter and bloom faster. I will sow them everywhere, along the edges of the cabbage beds and even in old buckets. They look wonderful. And one more thing that few people talk about. Marigolds suppress soil nematodes. These are microscopic pests that damage plant roots. That's why I've long made it a rule. At least one row of marigolds should be next to each vegetable bed. Beauty and benefit in one bottle. Well, what else do you need? But if marigold is our classic, then the next flower is a true aristocrat, which at the same time has the character of a weed in the best sense of the word. You'll be amazed at how easily it transforms an empty space into a vibrant canvas in just a few weeks. Second, zinnias, or as we affectionately call them, majors. I adore them for their straightforwardness. The stem stands strong, neither the wind will bend it, nor the rain will beat it down. In May, when the ground has already warmed up, I sow them in small groups. I have my own method. I lay the seed flat, lightly sprinkle it with soil and gently pat it with my palm, as if saying hello. Zinnias love the sun, so I choose the most open places for them. They come in so many different shapes, from cacti to pom-poms. The main thing, my dears, is not to clean when sowing. Give them space so that the bush becomes lush. And now a little secret that I only learned in the 15th year of my passion for values. It's embarrassing to admit, but better late than never. When the celandines grow to 10 to 15 centimeters, pinch the main shoot above a pair of leaves. Many people are afraid to do this. It's a pity, but it is this small operation that will make the bush branch out and give you not 5 or 6 flowers, but 2 or 3 dozen. Tested and works flawlessly. Now imagine a flower that requires no care at all, but creates a feeling of lightness and airiness, as if pink and white clouds have settled in the garden. Many people underestimate him, but in vain. He can do what even the most capricious garden beauties cannot. Third, cosmos. Cosmos is a flower from my childhood. I remember my grandmother's was higher than the fence. There are so many new varieties now, both double and low growing, simply stunning. I'll plant it where I need to quickly cover up an unsightly fence or barn wall. She grows on her own, honestly. Sometimes it seems to me that the less I look at it, the better it blooms. Just one piece of advice from the heart. Don't feed her organic food. I once doused it generously with my signature herbal infusion. So she grew to almost 2 mirrors, but there were only a few flowers. Cosmos loves a fasting diet, then it is in full bloom. One more nuance. Tall varieties may lodge in rainy summers. I once lost the entire background of a flower bed after a heavy downpour. Everything fell as if mown down. Now I just insert a few support rods and stretch green mesh between them. Unnoticed, but the cosmos holds on. A little work, but no disappointment after the storm. If you're looking for more than just decoration, but a truly living carpet that will also protect you from weeds, decorate your table, and wow your guests. Then our next hero is just what the doctor ordered. And by the way, it's edible. Fourth, nasturtium. Nasturtium is my lifesaver. Its seeds are large, like peas. Even their grandchildren enjoy sowing them. I pre-soak them for several hours in warm water to soften the skin. Seedlings appear noticeably faster. I sow 2 or 3 pieces per hole. It covers the ground with its round leaves so quickly that no swan can survive under it. Try adding its flowers to your salad. The taste is unusual, spicy, like cross salad. And the guests will have something to talk about at the table. Young leaves are also edible and contain a lot of vitamin C. I sometimes add them to summer salads instead of arugula. Nasturtium is one of the few flowering plants that is completely safe for both people and pets. So sow boldly. Speaking of benefits, the next flower is not just a decoration, but a real first aid kit in the garden. I can't do without it, neither in the garden nor in my home medicine cabinet. And he has one trick that not all gardeners know about. Fifth, calendula. Calendula is our old good friend. I just sow it randomly. Where the seed fell, a golden miracle grew. It is so unpretentious that it can withstand even light frosts, which we often have in May. I use it as a popular indicator. If the calendula opened its petals early in the morning, grandmother said, the day would be clear. Of course, this is a sign, not a weather forecast, but it is still pleasant to observe. And don't forget to pick off any stuck heads. This is important. Gardeners call this deadboarding. Although all my life I have said it more simply, we clean up our tails. If this is not done, the plant thinks that its task is completed. The seeds are ripe, it's time to rest. And if you regularly remove faded heads, the calendula continues to bloom until the snow falls, thinking that it has not yet completed the task. We cheat with nature and win. One more little bonus. Collect your seeds at the end of the season. Calendula preserves them perfectly. The similarity remains high for 2 to 3 years. I update my stock every year and never spend money on store-bought ones. Now let's add some blue sky to our garden. This flower reminds me of the endless fields of my childhood. And growing it in the garden is easier than cooking your morning porridge. But he has a secret that radically changes the outcome. Sixth, cornflowers. Many people think that cornflowers are only for the fields. Oh, how wrong they are. Nowadays, garden cornflowers have been bred in dark burgundy, snow white, and soft pink. I sow them in May, directly on the surface of the ground. I'll just go over it with a rake and that's it. They create such a cozy country style in the garden. I highly recommend sowing them next to white daisies. This is a combination you simply can't take your eyes off of. The soul rests. And now that very secret. Cornflowers produce a second wave of flowering if they are pruned in time. When the first flowers have faded and the stems have become long and unsightly, I simply cut everything back by about half. After 3 to 4 weeks, a new wave of flowering is fresh and lush. I do this every year. And my neighbor Tamara is always surprised how my cornflowers are blooming, when everyone else's have been blooming for a long time. Now you know this secret too. But if you want something more powerful, tall and spectacular, so that it just wows, take a look at the next beauty. It grows at a cosmic speed and in 2 months it will look as if you have been caring for it for several years. Seventh, lavatera. Lavatera is a real find for those who want quick results. I call it a flower for the lazy, and I say this with tenderness and respect, because I myself am sometimes quite lazy in the garden. The seeds are large and germinate evenly. After a month, these are already strong bushes, and after 2 months, they are all covered with large pink and white gramophones. They look very noble. From a distance, it can even be confused with hibiscus. I plant it along the paths. Creates a very lush and elegant border. But there is one important point. Lavatera does not like transplantation. Sow directly into a permanent location and do not disturb. I once tried to transplant a grown bush. He was offended and did not adapt for a long time. Now I sow it where it will grow all season. Lavatera is also a real magnet for bees and bumblebees. If you have fruit trees or berries on your property, plant lavatera nearby. Pollination will improve significantly. The benefit is twofold. What if we need vertical gardening? so that the gazebo or porch turns into a green fairy tale tent with flowers? I have the perfect option for you. One that runs across supports faster than any climber, and it has one feature that you should know about in advance. 8th, Morning Glory. Morning Glory is a true liana. I sow it right next to the fence or the porch. Every morning she opens her tender funnels to meet the sun, and this is one of the most beautiful sights in the early garden. While everyone is still sleeping, she has one peculiarity. She likes to drink. That's why on dry days I don't spare water for her. But how she weaves everything around. The main thing is to give her support, even just a simple string, and she will find her way up on her own. Now, an important warning that I feel obligated to say out loud. The seeds and pods are poisonous. Keep them out of reach of children and do not leave them scattered in the garden. The plant itself is safe. You can smell the flowers and admire them as much as you like, but you should never eat the seeds. I always put them in a closed box immediately after picking. Know this, just follow simple precautions and everything will be fine. Since we're talking about vines and fragrances, I simply can't keep quiet about a flower that will fill your garden with the scent of the most expensive perfume, and for free. And he also has one little secret, without which half of the gardeners never get normal flowering. But first, an important warning that for some reason everyone is keeping quiet about. 9th, Sweet Pea. Oh, that scent. I sow sweet peas in May in the sunniest places. It has a very hard seed coat, so I soak them overnight in warm water, and sometimes I also gently rub them with sandpaper. Just a little bit to help the sprout break through. When it blooms, evening tea in the garden becomes simply magical. And the more bouquets you cut for your home, the more new flowers it produces. Now that very warning. Sweet pea is a beautiful and aromatic plant, but all parts of it, especially the seeds, are poisonous when eaten. This is not a reason to give up on it. Just keep in mind and make sure that children do not put the pods in their mouths. Smell them, cut them into buds, decorate the gazebo. All this is completely safe and wonderful. Let's just clearly separate them. Admire, yes? Yes? No. And now the secret of good flowering. Sweet pea categorically does not tolerate heat at the roots. I mulch the ground underneath it with straw or mown grass, and it responds with gratitude. Without mulch in hot summers, peas quickly stop flowering. With mulch, it blooms until September. My friend Lyudmila has been complaining for several years that her sweet peas aren't growing. I came and took a look. He sows correctly, waters, but there is no mulch. The roots are baked in the sun. We mulched together, and that same year she had such sweet peas that she later called me and laughed. Sveta, you are a sorceress. No magic, just knowledge. Rounding out my top 10 is a plant that looks like it came from another planet. It will add height, volume, and incredible burgundy color to your garden. And that's not all. I'll tell you something interesting about its character that is not usually written on seed packets. 10th, Ornamental Amaranth. Amaranth is power. Its tails or vertical inflorescences look very impressive. I sow it in the center of the flower bed so that it becomes the main accent. He is not afraid of the heat at all. On the contrary, it only gets brighter in the sun. And you know what's most interesting? It can be dried and placed in a vase in winter. It retains light perfectly. A little trick when sowing. Amaranth seeds are tiny, like dust. I mix them with dry river sand in a proportion of about 1:10 and then sow. This way they are distributed evenly and do not end up in one place in a heap. They sprout quickly, but at first they look so fragile that you want to worry about them. Don't worry, in 2 weeks you will already see these strong, vigorous bushes. And finally, one interesting fact that I like to tell my guests. Right next to the flower bed. Let them be surprised. It turns out that there are grain and leafy varieties of amaranth that are eaten and even considered a superfood. But our handsome man is decorative. It's about something else. It's about beauty, not about lunch. So we admire it, dry it for the winter, put it in a vase and don't taste it. Little tricks for big success. Did you think that was it? No. No, my dears. I have a few more flowers in stock and some important practical tips on sowing, without which all our beauty may not happen. Stay for a few more minutes. It's worth it, I promise. Decorative sunflower. These are not the giants with seeds, but neat bush varieties. I sow them in May, and by August I have dozens of little suns in my garden. The grandchildren adore them. Varieties with double flowers or gradient petals are a completely different story. If you have children or grandchildren, be sure to sow with them. It will be unforgettable. Clarkia and Godetia. I am combining them because they are similar in sowing. Very delicate, satin flowers. You look and can't believe that this was simply sown in the ground and not bought in a flower shop. I sow them in partial shade. There they bloom longer and more brightly. Do not fade. And the only thing I ask is that you don't flood them out of pity. In damp soil they rot very quickly, and no amount of tenderness will save them. Water them moderately to prevent the soil from turning into a swamp, and they will thank you so much that your neighbors will stop by the fence and ask what this miracle is. Nigella is for those who love subtle beauty. It has lacy leaves and very unusual seed pods, which can then also be used for dried bouquets. It sows once and then often self-sows. So next year she will find you herself. Snorts. I call her a flower with a memory. Sow once and it will stay with you forever. 3 rules for May sowing that change everything. And now the most important thing. Even the best seeds can be ruined by improper sowing. I've compiled 3 rules that I've developed over years of trial and error. If you remember them, your seedlings will be friendly and strong. You can brag to your neighbors later. Rule number 1. Soil temperature is more important than air temperature. Many people look at the thermometer outside the window and think, +15 is fine for sowing, but the soil warms up more slowly than the air. I always check simply. I lower my palm to the surface of the soil and hold it for a few seconds. If your hand feels pleasantly warm and not cold, you can sow. If the soil is cold and damp, wait another week. Seeds do not germinate in cold soil but rot. Rule 2. The sowing depth depends on the size of the seeds. This is a golden rule that for some reason is written in small print in the instructions, but in vain. Large seeds, nasturtium, peas, gnat, I sow at a depth of 2 to 3 centimeters. They need to be properly buried. Medium tagetes lavatera at 1.5 stim. They are already a little younger. And the little ones Cosmea, Vasilek, Nenigela, they are really sissies. Just sprinkle it on the surface a little, literally half a centimeter. If you bury them too deep, they won't get out. If you bury them too shallow, they'll dry out at the first wind. That's the whole secret. And it turns out to be such a science. Rule 3. The first watering is the most important. After sowing, I water very carefully using a fine mesh strainer or a spray bottle. A strong stream washes away small seeds and moves them from their place. I water the soil so that it is wet but not washed away, and cover the crops with a non-woven covering material with pan bond. It retains moisture, protects against birds, and creates a small greenhouse effect. After 5-7 days, I remove them and enjoy the first loops of shoots. It's one of the happiest moments in gardening, honestly. By the way, before I tell you about the most common mistakes made during May sowing, and there are some, and some are downright funny, I want to say something for those who are on this channel for the first time. My name is Svetlana, and this spring, together with the Beautiful Garden with Your Own Hands channel, we've already planted, replanted, and discussed so much that I feel like we've known each other for ages. There is no theory for the sake of theory here, only what I have tested myself on my land with my own hands, often accompanied by my red cocker, Jessie, who helps me with great enthusiasm in the beds. Subscribe if you haven't already. There is still a lot of interesting things ahead. Error block. What not to do when sowing in May. I already promised to tell you about the mistakes. I keep my word. Over the years of communicating with gardeners, I have collected a whole concept of stories, and I thought that this was the right thing to do. I'll share the most common ones. Mistake number 1. Sowing too frequently. I understand this impulse. I want more to sprout, in case some of them don't germinate, and the end result is such a mess of shoots that it is impossible to untangle them. Almost everything sprouts. And then we stand over the garden bed with tweezers and try to pull out the excess without harming the neighbors. Sow sparingly, but not in a dense carpet. You will thank me later. Mistake 2. Watering in the heat of the day in the middle of the day. I've seen this more than once. A man comes with a watering can at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, waters a freshly sown garden bed and is pleased with himself. The soil is dry, water is needed, everything is logical. But small seedlings in direct sunlight after cold watering become so stressed that they take a long time to recover. And most of the water simply evaporates without reaching the roots. It's so hot. Water in the morning or in the evening, my dears, and the plant will be fine, and you yourself won't be sweating with water in the middle of the day. Mistake 3. Mix all the beautiful varieties in one bed. I did the same when I was young. I'll buy 10 bags of different colors and sow them all together, dreaming of a wild mix. As a result, the highs overwhelmed the lows, the fasts drowned out the slows, and the whole thing turned into a picturesque but chaotic mess where everyone suffered. Now I sow in groups, tall ones separately, short ones separately, and climbing ones separately, and each flower opens up in all its glory. My dears, May is a time of hope. Don't be afraid to sow directly into the ground. Nature itself will tell the plants when they need to wake up. The main thing is to do it with love and a good mood. I always say, the earth feels our hands. If you approach your flower bed with a kind word, the flowers will respond with lush blooms. Today we've covered 10 reliable colors that will transform your property into a living painting without much investment, complicated maintenance, or unnecessary stress. You can sow all this right now in May, directly into the ground. I hope my experience will help you make this season the most beautiful and easy. May your garden delight you with every leaf, and may your chores be only a joy. If you found anything new or useful in today's episode, please let me know in the comments which flower you'll plant first. I'm always interested to know this. Until next time, my darlings, let us continue to grow beauty together.